Hello and welcome to Coach Connect Live. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm going to give everyone a minute or two to settle in, grab a glass of water, grab that notebook to take notes. We're going to be talking about a lot of really interesting things today. And as you do that, I will briefly introduce myself. My name is Eloïse Eonnet, and I am the director of Coach Connect here at the Muse. And for those of you who don't know, what is Coach Connect? Well, Coach Connect is the place that you can come to find the support you need during a moment of career transition. Whether it is within your current position and you want to grow within that position, whether you're thinking about a career change or whether you're actively in a job search, you can come to Coach Connect and you can find a career coach, a vetted career coach, to work with one-on-one to be successful as you take those steps. And every month, I'm joined here by one of our fantastic coaches to talk about a subject that is relevant to you and will help you be successful in your career. Today, we're going to be talking about how to tap into the hidden job market, right? That phrase, the hidden job market. There are so many fantastic tools out there to help you find work that aligns with your career goals, the culture that you want, for example, the Muse and Fairy Godboss. But there's also this hidden job market, as we say, that these opportunities that maybe aren't posted, easily available, ready to click on apply now. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. And I am thrilled to be joined today by Barb Girson, who is a wonderful coach on the platform, has been here for a little while now. And so, Barb, first of all, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much, Eloise and the Muse and the Fairy God team that has brought us together.
Yeah, fantastic. Before we jump into our topic today, can you introduce yourself for our audience so that they get a better sense of who you are as a coach?
Absolutely. Well, good day, everybody. And I basically have dedicated my career in one way or another to helping you navigate your career aspirations and really to help you stand out. I bring to you my formal education, whether it's my certifications. I'm an ICF International Coach Certified and trained in conversational intelligence and Neurozone, high performing leaders and teams. But I also bring to you my life experience, and my career itself has had a couple different turns. I started out as a high school teacher teaching resume and job search. And then I went on and owned my own wholesale distribution business and built it to a multi-million-dollar business. And then had a decade in corporate America. And here I am today, really thrilled to be with the Muse for about 3 years and just love the people I meet and love helping you. So
Fantastic.
My motto is I help you gain confidence, get into action, and ultimately grow. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you. And you bring so much knowledge, not only from your experience, but also all the work that you do with your clients, working with them every single day, helping them achieve their goals. So this hidden job market, Barb,
Yes.
what can you share about this and that's relevant to our audience today?
Absolutely. And before we dig into the hidden job market, I want to connect with all of our listeners with us today. So if you could interact with the chat, and I'd love to know, are you a job seeker? Are you a career changer? Are you just peaking proactively for what the future may bring? Have you been recently laid off? Or maybe you can't say because someone you work with is right here with you listening to us today. But go ahead and fill out the chat and we'll get a sense of who is in our audience. Now, as far as the hidden job market, you can kind of picture an iceberg. I like to use that metaphor. And the jobs that are posted, career experts say, about 20% are the postings that show up online. But if you can picture an iceberg underneath, there's about 70 or 80% of jobs that are landed that we call the hidden job market. Those may come from referrals, from networking, or direct approaches. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. I always say, like, he or she who wants to search for pearls must dive below.
I love that. I love that image. And I'm curious, just, as we dig into this, right, this image of the iceberg is so clear, right? There's that peak that we can see that's readily accessible. We can take our little boat out to it, right? The rest is underwater. So can you briefly share your thoughts on perhaps why that is? Why is there that hidden iceberg underwater?
You know what? That's really a great question. And companies have different reasons for pursuing people to join their team without always posting online. One, with the advent of the recruitment platforms, finding for any particular job that's posted, about 250 applicants apply. Sometimes it's even more. You can follow that on LinkedIn, seeing how many people have applied for a position. Think about that, everybody. Out of the 250 applications, about 4 to 6 will be invited for an interview, and only one person typically is invited to get that job. So many companies offer to not build that clutter of responses, and they go to their employees first, perhaps for referrals. Many companies will even give a bonus for referring someone to the team, because an insider can tell who would be a good fit for that culture. And so that, the hidden job market reduces some of the competition. Now, I'm not saying only use the hidden job market. Like a good investment portfolio, we want to diversify our job search.
Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense. There's a variety of reasons why a job might not be posted. And there are a variety of reasons why it's important to also tap into that, because the competition might be a little less fierce. You might be able to get your foot in the door in a different way, through a referral, through all these different things. So what are the key components that you might have to think about when thinking about how to use this hidden job market?
Well, the hidden job market's a deep topic. As we said, it goes 80% underwater. However, today there's 4 key components I'd like to underline, and everybody's going to get a link at the end with a tool that'll support some of the tips I'm sharing. So the first thing I invite everybody to do is craft your career blueprint. This is your roadmap on how you want to go about your job search. And as far as hidden job market, you want to make sure that you are tracking and organized. You want to keep track of not only the contacts, that's pretty standard job search advice of who you meet and how they potentially could have a connection. But however, this approach is very proactive. I challenge everybody here today. Here's hot tip number 1. And if you like a hot tip, put HT in the chat and identify it, because someone else may miss it. But I challenge you to set up 10 to 20 ideal companies that you target, that you would like to work for. That means you've looked at their values, you've looked at their mission, you align with their culture, which takes a little bit of research. Set some goals and select companies that sync with your aspirations, and refine as you go. So your blueprint would be part of that. Craft your career blueprint. That's number 1. Number 2, network by nurturing connections. Again, that's pretty standard job recommendation. And with respect to the hidden job market, you want to personalize and identify people that could help you get into those target companies. Now, again, you're still continuing to post online and do the traditional job search strategy. However, a third of your time can be proactive, going after what you want. May be a long shot, may take some patience, but you're seeking out what you're looking for. So as you have your target companies, leverage LinkedIn and identify people that work at those companies, and network and connect with them, and proactively seek opportunities for informational interviews or coffee chats. Again, that's part of a traditional job search strategy. We hear that all the time. Yet what makes this particular difference, again, is your proactive approach. Now, let me give you an example. Eloise, I had a client who moved into a new home, and they had a plumbing issue. It figures that happens when you move, right? So the client called the plumber, and in chatting, most people probably would go in the other room and let the plumber do the plumber's job. But they started chatting, and before you know it, the plumber is on the phone and made a connection with their vice president at a pharmaceutical company. Lo and behold, a networking connection was made. And through that conversation from the plumber, the client was able to find out about a position that was going to post in a week or two, and they got to jump on it. It's always good to be among the first group. So there's an example of a hidden job market from the plumber. Who are you talking to in your everyday life, job seekers, that you may or may not be delving beneath the water, that 80%. The third tip is to get some insider intel from informational interviews and find advocates. So this means really reaching out to the people who, again, work in your target companies. And as you connect with them, see if they would be willing to set up a quick informational interview to learn what's it like to work in that company. How did they get hired? What are the ins and outs beneath the surface about the culture? And of course, are there any potential opportunities that may be coming up? My suggestion is to avoid coming across too needy at the beginning of that relationship. It's a give to get. Find out what their big projects are and find an article and send it to them, something like that. And eventually ask them if they would be an advocate for you. And let's say you did a virtual coffee chat, you could always ask for their address if they're willing and send them a Starbucks card, like something that makes yourself be memorable. So remember that what you want to do, and I always say, it's better to be sought after than seeking. So as you develop these relationships, you want to be referred in instead of coming across like I need and help, because somebody's taken the time to get to know you. And ask them, will they march your resume in? Another client story, this person ran into a neighbor and they said, let's get coffee. And through coffee, the client said, I'm trying to get into a local school district. And lo and behold, this person was actually working in a school. It was a new job. They didn't know that is where they were working. And she, sure enough, agreed to take the resume into HR and say, take a look at this. And she did get the interview. So a personal connection does help. Yeah. And the fourth one, and this is the big one, unlock your unforgettable USP. And by USP, I mean unique selling proposition. I mean, getting a job is probably your biggest sales job of your life. And I don't mean to come across in sales like the traditional stereotype of like a used car salesman. You want to be just in touch with your strengths and being willing to put them forward. And as you identify your unique selling proposition, what I mean by that is if two candidates or two resumes show up and they have the same skills, strengths, and experience, what is it that sets you apart? And with that, develop a signature story that will help you very quickly as you're out networking and meeting people for the hidden job market. It will help them remember you. And that they may not think of anywhere for you to go today, but your name may pop in at a later time. So that is my fourth tip.
I love this. So what I'm hearing, Barb, is that first of all, the approach here is not, it's not, oh, let me go see what's out there and try to align myself with the jobs that I'm seeing that are posted, but rather it's being incredibly proactive and figuring out, first of all, what are the organizations that I align with? And then and being really, really clear on that, and also being very clear on what you bring to the table. And with those two elements, right, with the clarity on where you would ideally like to work, and with that knowledge of yourself and that clarity on what you bring to the table that makes you stand out, you can then engage in those conversations with clarity and be really surprised actually about, figuring out where those connections may happen, right? The plumber, the neighbor, or it could very much be more strategic and say, okay, I'm going to go on LinkedIn and I'm going to forge connections, ask for people's time, etc.
Absolutely. And, it's the difference of showing up as someone on purpose instead of just a random wandering soul. And at the beginning, you said instead of showing up and going after what's being posted, and I would respectfully tweak that by saying, in addition to that, because
Both, of course.
you're still found that way. It's just
Yeah,
giving yourself a third of diversification in how you go about it. And that
absolutely.
reminds me, can I share one more story about this?
Of course, by all means, yes.
This one is deeply personal. It happened in our family. So one day, my husband picked me up. I had to remember who did the picking up there. He picked me up, and I got in the car, and right away, you know how you can just feel the energy. All the oxygen was out of his face, and I'm like, "Honey, what happened? What's wrong?" And he said, "They let me go." Those dreaded words, and he failed to tell me that at the same time, 7 other teachers were let go. I said, "What? You taught special ed and loved these kids for 7 years. You helped the ones that were at risk go back and get their GED, and they let you go?" I couldn't believe it. And he said yes. And then he said, "Will you help me with my resume?" And of course, that's part of what I do. So we sat down and we combed through. And one thing that I would recommend to everyone is always keep your resume updated. His needed some work. It's like the shoemaker that didn't have shoes in their house. But we went through, we updated his resume. And again, I asked him what I ask all of you. And Sam, I think I saw your question come through. How do you define your USP? I think there's some instruction in how we went about it. We come through his experience, and in addition to the stuff, the tasks that he did, and what his skills were, I said, "Tell me a little bit more about what your day to day was like." And he said, "Well," and through our conversation, and it took a little bit of combing, it came out that in the lobby there was this big fish tank. And he noticed very quickly within the first week that nobody was really taking care of it. So without being asked, he went in and he cleaned the fish tank. And he did it for a week later, and then every few weeks, and then before that, a month. And before you know that, like 7 years later, this fish tank was like his. And so I said, "Okay, let's put cleans the fish tank on your resume." My gosh, who would have the courage to do that? And he was doubting me. However, flash forward to a panel interview. And he was like, he goes, "Oh my gosh, I got in there, babe, and there were 6 people, 12 eyeballs looking at me." And he said they were firing questions right and left, and I tried to look at each one. And he's described there were beads of sweat rolling down my back at this interview. And they got partway through, and all of a sudden, the administrator said, "Mr. G," he thought that was a good sign that he affectionately shortened Gerson, "what's this about cleans the fish tank?" And my husband, what do you think he immediately thought? Like, "Oh no, I shouldn't have put that on," right? And so he told the story. Dead silence after the story, long pregnant pause, and all of a sudden the administrator breaks the silence and he said, "Mr. G, how do you feel about box turtles?" And needless to say, that story helped him stand out. And you probably could put in the chat, what do you think that cleans the fish tank said about his character that the resume couldn't say? I'd love to hear from some of you. How do you tie that in? And to Sam, who asked, how do you define it? It's really through that conversation with friends, people who know you used to work with. We have support here at the Muse. I myself offer my services as working with people to help figure out their unique selling proposition so that they can stand out. And so I ask all of you, as probably your biggest action step from today, is what is your cleans the fish tank signature story that helps you be remembered?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that story, Barb, because I think it puts what you're talking about into context of a job search and into context of what it's like to be in a job search. So, if anyone has that, I'd love to see it already. Like if you have that story or that piece of information about you or that trait, please share it in the chat. Barb, this has been incredibly insightful, and we have a bunch of questions that are coming in. So I'd love to tackle a few of these here. Stacy asks, do people have time for informational meetings anymore, right? And Stacy, in that question, what I hear is my fear of asking for people's time, asking for people's not only their time, but their energy. They're putting themselves out there for us. Barb, in your experience working with your clients, what would you say to one of your clients if they asked you that question?
Yeah, do people have time? Probably most people don't have space on their calendar reserved for people that want an informational interview. However, if you build a rapport through interactions and online, connecting with someone that you don't know will take probably about 16 exchanges. So you can comment on their posts. They may comment on yours. You can comment on something that if you see it's their birthday or whatever, you build a connection, and then it doesn't feel like a cold, hard ask. So come on slow and let it grow with when you're developing these relationships. And you're building for now, and you may be building for the future too. Through this. And I believe, yes, there are people that will give you a few minutes of your time. Be quick, be respectful with their time, ask about their story. How did they get here? What parts were really helpful? And at the end, always ask, who else do you think I might want to speak with if I wanted to learn about your company?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is show up with curiosity. It's the long game that you're playing. Yes. At least that's a good approach, right? Because who knows how quickly something will come, and that really people at the end are most likely willing to help out, most likely willing to put that extra 5 minutes in their calendar to help somebody out if it makes sense too. Yeah.
I think people generally do like it. Feels good to help others. I want to address Helene's comment. How do you have an informational interview when you're unemployed and have nothing to offer the other person and not come across as you're just asking for a job? So, Helene, I would love to be able to inspire you that every human being has something to offer someone else. And someone you never know who might be, knee deep in projects, but needs a few minutes to think of something outside their work, or you learning something from them by asking about their story. It does boost things they forgot about themselves. So we're always helping others. And I hope that you getting in touch with how much you truly have to offer someone else is a takeaway for you. Thank you for posting.
Yeah. And it reminds me of a phrase my father always says. He says, 100% of winners have tried, right? And so there's this like, it's just taking that one first step is the beginning of doing, and you can only know if it's going to work if you put yourself out there. Yeah. There are a couple other questions here that I'm seeing that are about whether you're entering the job market for the first time or entering the job market from being an entrepreneur, so entering it in a very different way. How would you advise candidates who are looking to maybe make a big career switch or enter for the first time and still tap into this hidden job market?
Boy, that's a great question. Again, I think it maybe even ties to Helene is forgetting that everywhere, forgetting for a moment, or conventional thinking is, what do I have to offer? How do I start from here? It is hard to get started. I'm not going to lie. However, connecting the dots of your trajectory, wherever you have stamped your passport, if you're entering the job market and you did some volunteer work, or I worked with someone yesterday and they were talking about, let's see, they have Italian, Polish, and Irish roots. And we combed back through her history and found that her first job was in a pizza shop. So we played on finding common ground and the fact that she loves food. Her family raised her with this, and it's connecting the dots to how did you get here, and then where's your future? What are you looking for? So that's all. That could all be part of a very quick couple sentences signature story that has you show up as someone who is interesting, and we're all interesting differently.
Yeah, yeah. So it takes a little bit of that time, right? That time of thinking about that story, and then coming off as that person who has put in some thought into the connection, which I think is great. Yeah. Um, you mentioned that this is hard, right? And I think that it's really important to bring up. So thank you for doing that, right? It's not a, oh, here's a formula and apply it and it's going to be easy, right? It's definitely not. And I think that part of the payoff of this approach is that it is hard, and so not a lot of people might do it, and so the competition might be a little less fierce, and so et cetera, right? So Barb, how would you, in those moments where I'm in a job search and it's been a while and I need a job and I'm feeling down on myself, how would you encourage me, right, that job seeker, to keep doing that work? What would you say is a helpful thing that I can do to remain motivated and to keep feeling like I'm moving forward?
Yeah, so I guess it starts with keeping a good track of your wins, the small steps, because it's ups, it's downs, and it's oops. So keep, when you have those oops or times that it literally may even feel like the gutter or stuck, go back and take hold of things that have worked or switch it up. Don't keep doing the same thing, like spin your tire and, change it up. And also, build a support team. Who is on your team? Is it, the person that you can really not have to hold your chin up and show up and look like you have everything buttoned up, but to say, I've had a few things in a row that didn't work out, will you listen? And that those could be people you used to work with, it could be family members. And again, there are professionals like us that do this, and sometimes maybe that investment would be just the boost you need to get over it.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it also brings up the resource that we've posted in the chat. It's also going to be sent out to everybody in the in the email post event. So if you can't download it here for whatever reason, you'll get it in your inboxes. I think a big thing that struck me when you shared that resource with me is keeping track of this work. Really doing the work, that the small detailed work as you're going through this process of figuring out what's out there, tracking the steps that you take. So in those moments too, where it's hard and you feel like perhaps you haven't made progress, you can go back and you can look at that spreadsheet. You can look at those resources that you've put together and say, wow, I actually have done all of this. And it will eventually turn around and come back my way, because every step that you take is adding to that puzzle piece to form that full picture.
Yeah. And they're in that document, there's about 6 different pages that give you ideas and prompts to set up your own personalized strategy. So I hope that you'll take advantage of it. And I'd love to hear from you if one thing you heard today or in the resources and the gifts shared helps you. I'd love to know about that.
Yeah, thank you, Barb. And thank you so much for sharing that resource. It's part of Barb's coaching tools, and she's giving it away today to all of you. So please take advantage of using that, honor it, use it for yourself, whether it's right now or in a future job search. And so, to wrap things up today, I know 30 minutes goes so fast,
Oh
and
my
there's
gosh.
so much more that we could talk about. We could keep talking for so much more time. But I just want to highlight, Barb is a fabulous coach, as you now know. She is on the Muse, and we're offering a discount to work with her for the next 2 weeks. So please look out for that discount code in the email that will follow this event. You'll also have the link to this event in that email. So please check it out. Check out working with her. And if you have any other questions, keep asking them. Be in touch with us. We are always here to help you guys out to find those next steps in your job search. So, Barb, thank you again so much for your time, for your expertise, for your resources today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate everybody. I'm looking at these comments and the appreciation, and we want to send you off with renewed energy. Go conquer the world.
Go conquer the world. That's the best. Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, for listening in, for paying attention, for asking your questions. We will see you again next month with a new topic. So make sure to tune in and share this with the people in your life who are going through a career change. We will see you soon and have a good rest of your month. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.